Hello, lovely YouTube family. What's going on? When we think of Halloween, we think of a fun and spooky holiday for those of all ages. The streets are filled with adults and children in all sorts of costumes, from terrifying monsters to figures of history. We attend horror-themed events and we decorate our house as an anticipation of the endless horde of trick-or-treaters that await their candy. Some prefer to stay indoors and binge on horror movie marathons, and others actively seek a thrill with haunted houses and mazes, which have become extremely popular today. We aim to uncover the origins of Halloween, how its traditions came to pass, and why the holiday is loved by so many. As we all know, Halloween is a holiday celebrated every year on October 31st. And Halloween 2020 will take place on Saturday, October 31st. The tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, when people lit bonfires and wore costumes to ward off ghosts. So in this video, we'll discuss the history and different stories related to Halloween, and we are doing the giveaway. To know more about it, watch till the end of the video. The origins of Halloween can be traced back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. The Celts, who lived 2,000 years ago, mainly in what is now Ireland, the UK, and northern France, celebrated their new year on November 1st. This day marked the end of summer and the harvest and the onset of dark and cold winter, a time of year often associated with human death. The Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the line between the worlds of the living and the dead blurred. On the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain, when it was believed that the ghosts of the dead were returning to Earth. In addition to causing problems and damaging crops, the Celts believed that the presence of spirits from another world made it easier for the Druids or Celtic priests to make predictions about the future. For a people wholly dependent on the unstable natural world, these prophecies were an important source of comfort during the long, dark winter. To commemorate the event, the Druids built huge sacred bonfires, where people gathered to burn crops and animals in sacrifice to Celtic deities. During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes, usually made of animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortune. At the end of the celebration, they rekindled their hearth fires, which they had put out earlier in the evening, from the sacred bonfire to protect them during the coming winter. By AD 43, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of Celtic territory. During the 400 years that they ruled Celtic lands, two festivals of Roman origin have been combined with the traditional Celtic celebration of Samhain. The first was Feralia, a day in late October when the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. The second was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation of this celebration into Samhain probably explains the tradition of swinging for apples that is practiced today on Halloween. The celebration of Halloween was extremely limited in colonial New England due to rigid Protestant belief systems. Halloween was much more common in Maryland and the southern colonies. As the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups and American Indians mingled, a distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. The earliest celebrations included games, which were public events held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors shared stories of the dead, told each other their fortunes, danced, and sang. By the 1920s and 1930s, Halloween had become a secular but community-centric holiday, with parades and Halloween parties all over town as entertainment. Despite the best efforts of many schools and communities, vandalism began to plague some celebrations in many communities during this time. By the 1950s, city rulers had succeeded in curbing vandalism, and Halloween had become a party primarily aimed at young people. Due to the high number of young children during the 1950s baby boom, parties moved from city civic centers to the classroom or home, where they could be more easily accommodated. Between 1920 and 1950, the age-old practice of rigging or treatment was also revived. Trick or treat was a relatively inexpensive way for an entire community to share in the celebration of Halloween. In theory, families could also avoid playing tricks on them by offering neighborhood children little treats. Thus, a new American tradition was born, and it has continued to grow. Today, Americans spend an estimated $6 billion a year on Halloween, making it the second largest trade holiday in the country after Christmas. But what about Halloween traditions and beliefs that today's cheaters have completely forgotten? Many of these outdated rituals focused on the future rather than the past, and the living rather than the dead. In particular, many had to do with helping young women identify their future husbands and reassure them that they would one day hopefully marry by next Halloween. In 18th century Ireland, a wedding cook might bury a ring in his mashed potatoes on Halloween night, hoping to bring true love to the restaurant that found it. In Scotland, fortune tellers have recommended that an eligible young woman name a dab for each of her suitors, then toss the nuts down the chimney. The nut that burned to ashes rather than jumping or exploding, tells the story, represented the girl's future husband. In some versions of this legend, the opposite was true. The burning nut symbolized a love that would not last. Another story goes that if a young woman ate a sweet concoction of nuts, hazelnuts, and nutmeg before bed on Halloween night, she would dream of her future husband. The young woman threw apple peels over their shoulders, hoping the peels would fall to the ground in the shape of their future husband's initials. Tried to learn more about their future by watching egg yolks floating in a bowl of water and standing in front of mirrors in dark rooms holding candles and looking over their shoulders at the faces of their husbands. Other rituals were more competitive. On some Halloween parties, the first guest to find a smudge on the chestnut hunt would be the first to get married. In others, the first successful apple bobber would be the first in the aisle. Of course, whether we seek romantic advice or try to avoid 7 years of bad luck, each of these Halloween superstitions relies on the goodwill of the same spirits whose presence the early Celts so keenly felt. Well, that's it from this video. I hope you learned about the history and the weirdest stories about Halloween from this video. We are doing the giveaway of 1,000 Christmas gifts. To participate, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and share our YouTube videos with your friends. Send us a screenshot on our Facebook page after doing this. We will choose 1,000 winners. The more you comment and share our videos, the more chances you have to win the prizes. Hit like and give us a subscribe if you want to keep those types of videos coming. See you soon in the next video. Stay tuned and bye-bye!